Hey, how's it going, everyone? Carlo and Dylan here from All You Can Board, doing our 2022 edition of our top 50 games of all time. So we did this last year in 2021 for the first time ever, and this is our updated list. I think things have changed a decent amount for both of us.
I think so.
Actually, I was going to ask you how many games are new to your list in this year's top 50 that weren't on last year's?
So I have 16 games in this one that were not in the top 50 last year.
Okay, all right.
Which I guess means 16 came off.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So,
Yep. I'm at 11 for mine too,
Okay.
which I thought was pretty high. 16 is pretty high.
Yeah.
That's good though. That's good. That's a lot of
was
exciting
high.
new games to talk about. So,
Yeah.
I think.
And I will also mention that we both have Baileys in our coffees here, so we're gonna get nice and drunk as we do this list.
Credit to Dylan. He's got the espresso flavored Baileys on hand. So surprised me with that. But
only the finest. For us here.
Absolutely. I don't really think there's anything else to go over. I'm just gonna kick it off to you to start off with number 50 here.
All right, number 50 is tied with one other game for my biggest fall from compared to last year.
Yeah. It's top 50, not top 51.
No. Like, there's two games on my top 50 that fell the same amount of spots.
Oh, I see.
But this one ended up at 50, and was the other one I consider my biggest faller that we'll get to, because that one was way higher up, like a higher ranked number.
Okay.
So this one was 22 last year and is now 50, and that is My City.
Down 28 spots.
28 spots. So My City I knew was going to fall because we're done it. We're not playing it anymore. I have my memories of it. I really enjoy that game. I still think it's an awesome polyomino game as it evolves and everything. But I have played the version of it that is left over after you've done the campaign, and like, it's not bad, but it's also not competing with so many other great polyomino games that are out there. It is the legacy portion that is so memorable. And just like other legacy games, other campaign games, it's hard for them to hold their spot when I'm not going to revisit them most likely, and I'm basically riding on nostalgia. And I've tasked myself in general in my life with video games, with books, with board games, to try to like identify when I'm letting nostalgia control my feelings on something. Like, I won't get into the examples, but regardless, My City is one of those things. I have such great memories now of us playing Lost City, and like all the campaign sessions that we did, the chapters and everything. But when I think about just like the game that's left in My City and how it's competing with the other games, I can't really rank it much higher. So this will almost definitely be My City's last time in the top 50. But we have My Island coming out, so maybe that one will end up replacing it, and it'll jump on there. So
cool.
Yeah,
honestly, legacy games are by far the toughest ones to rank in these lists because you're going off of how you felt when you played through it, right? Last year I had Gloomhaven in the number 50 spot, and again, like, that's never going to make it back onto here either. And I think I had My City just outside of the top 50 last year. So yeah, amazing game, and one we would recommend to anyone who hasn't played it, but I understand not to go back to it once you've played through it.
Yeah, My City number 50 just squeaks on.
All right, my number 50 is also a game that fell quite a bit, and is also one that does have quite a bit of nostalgia for me, and this will definitely be the last year on the top 50 for me. So this was number 34 last year. It has fallen 16 spots, and that is Merchants and Marauders. So, and honestly, if I had just trusted my initial Pub Meeple rankings, it might have fallen into like 51 or 52, but I felt like it had to be on here one last time. Just the memories of this game are too fond. It obviously is a very long game. I don't think I've ever played a game of it that took less than maybe 2.5 to 3 hours is probably the quickest, usually in that 3 to 4 hour range. But just sailing around the Caribbean, being either a pirate or a merchant, and you're either as a merchant trying to like avoid other pirates that are coming after you, or as a pirate trying to mess with other players, or attacking other ships at sea. Like, it was just such a fun game. There's a lot of things, the rules were too heavy. It's something I probably won't come back to again unless I find someone else with a copy, because I got rid of mine. But I've had just some really, really memorable times with Merchants and Marauders. Some of my fondest board game memories ever. So this will definitely be the last year on the list, unless somehow I get to play it again. But Merchants and Marauders.
Yeah, I've only played it the one time, and it was interesting and fun, but not for me. Well, I shouldn't say not for me. I've only played it once, and it's hard on the first time you play a game that's like 3 to 4 hours long.
Yes.
You have to get it to you almost have to keep playing until you get it to refine, so that you can actually truly experience like the proper length of the game and like just the experience. It's just
and I think you were the only new person playing, and it can be a pretty punishing game. Like, you lose your captain, you get killed, you lose all your stuff, you have to start over kind of thing. So,
but it was interesting.
Yeah, great game. If you haven't tried it and you're into these kind of like bigger experiences, I highly recommend you check out Merchants and Marauders.
Cool. My number 49 is the first game on the list that wasn't on last year, and it is from the Doctor himself, Reiner Knizia, and that is Witchstone.
Oh, so nice.
Witchstone squeaks on. I actually thought originally when I was making this list and I was doing my rankings and stuff, I thought Witchstone was going to actually make it higher because I really do like Witchstone, but there's a lot of competition. I haven't played it in a little bit now. I think the last time I played it was at your place a while ago now, a few months ago.
A few months, yeah.
But I really do like Witchstone. If I keep playing it more and more, I mean, it's possible I could slip. Maybe I realize that I've seen all there is to see, but I like how much is going on in Witchstone. I like that everything you're doing is like to chain into like getting other actions, and this action gets you this action. Gets, like I just like games like that. And Knizia's design is solid. Every area of the board has kind of a distinct feel and a distinct way to tackle it and approach it, and managing your matching of the domino tiles to get actions is so much fun to see how efficient you can be. And because I've never felt like I've left a game of Witchstone being as efficient as I could be, I still want to go back and be like, okay, how can I hit the fact that the rulebook tells you this is the max number of actions you could possibly get. Yeah. It's like, can I have a game where I hit that? How close can I get, right? So there's more to explore there. I really do like Witchstone. I don't know if it'll climb in future years or whether this will be the highest we'll see it and it'll slip off, but as of right now, it is really good, and I can't wait to play it some more.
Nice, yeah. Not one that's in my top 50, but a really fun game. One that I don't think I'll ever turn down a game of this. Like, I definitely want to play it again soon. Maybe we'll play it over the holidays or something.
We should. Yeah, it's really good.
Great game. And okay, also new. My number 49 is also new to the list. First time ever here, and it's one I've played 2 or 3 times so far, but has made a pretty big impression. I know it won't be on your top 50. That is Ginkgopolis.
Oh yeah, maybe one day. But
maybe one day. I just know the one play you had wasn't ideal. We played it super late at night, and I botched the rules explanation pretty hard. But so yeah, this is just a fascinating game because I've never seen a game combine these mechanisms in this way before, and also play in a relatively short game, and have like the rules are hard to wrap your head around. It's one of those games similar to something like Equinox or Curious Cargo, when like the rules seem simple, but then you start playing and it's actually pretty confusing. But yeah, you're building a city with other players. It's a tile laying game, but you're able to add tiles to expand the city outwards or to place tiles over other players' tiles to change what color tiles are in the city. There's different colored tiles to create different districts, and then there's area majority over the districts, and you're doing this by drafting cards and passing them throughout the game. So like everything you do is a shared interactive, like the map, the cards, the tile, everything you do, you have to be aware of the other players around you. Very interesting game, very thinky. I could see this one potentially getting a lot higher on my list, but it's like I haven't really wrapped my head around it fully yet. So it could also be one like similar to with Witchstone. It could be one that falls off the list if over time, the strategy doesn't become maybe a bit more clear, and I don't have like the great plays with other people. I don't know where it's going to get to in my playing group. No one has seemed to like it anywhere near as much as me yet. So if it doesn't get played enough, it might slip off. But Ginkgopolis is a really interesting game.
I'm excited to play it. Not under the influence of alcohol and not at like 2 in the morning.
Yeah, of course.
Because it does, like I do remember finding parts of it interesting. I just remember my brain being like, you can't do this right now.
You're like, you do this. I'm like, you can't do that. You're like, oh, okay, so wait, what? How does this work again? Like, we're half an hour into the game. No, that was my fault. That is Ginkgopolis.
All right, my number 48 is a different version of a game that was on my list last year, and that version is no longer on my list. So the other version last year was the 35. I think I know what this is. This is 48, and it's Codenames Duet.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, so Codenames was 35 last year. Codenames is actually not on my list this year because I haven't played it at all in this last year, but I've played a bunch of Codenames Duet, and it's very much the same experience of the actual game. It's in a 2-player package. It's now cooperative, so it's changed, but what the actual actions of how you're giving clues and everything have stayed the same. So I feel like you're still getting the Codenames experience out of it. It's just in a 2-player package. I love Codenames Duet. I think it's such a great 2-player game. It's situational for me personally in the sense that like I usually now just play Codenames Duet with like dates. Like for some reason that's just like it's just a really good coupled or date game because you're working together, because it's that cooperative games are naturally just more approachable that way.
And it can help you get to know someone too, right?
Yeah, totally. And then given the way you give clues and like it's just you can try to find things that you have in common with how you're going to link up clues, so you're kind of learning about each other in the same way. So I played a bunch of it. I really love Codenames Duet. I think it is a really, really good version of Codenames, and I think it's also one where like people could play this version never having played the original Codenames, and it's not like you're losing part out on the experience, or that's like not where you should start or whatever. So yeah, so Codenames Duet 48 was on the list last year, but it kind of replaces Codenames.
Right. And there's less downtime in this version, right?
Yeah.
And especially per player, because it's not like one person coming up with the clue while everyone else sits around.
And there's a mini campaign in there too. Like you have a map and you go to like different cities and they have harder requirements and stuff, so you can actually get some longevity out of it too.
Yeah, I have a copy. I really need to try this with Anna.
Yeah, I think you guys will like it.
Yeah, cool. Nice pick. All right, number 48 on my list is a game that dropped 7 spots from number 41 last year, and that is Monstrosity. It's hard to say why it dropped. I mean, part of it is just that there are new games on the list, right? And some new games that have made it are ahead of it, so it kind of got bumped a little bit, but it's still a really, really fun game. We had another awesome play of this during our charity live stream that we did back in May for mental health. And basically, yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, the long and short of it is you're playing together with it's not cooperatively, but you take turns. One player is the eyewitness who saw some sort of monster commit a crime, and the other players all are sketch artists with a little dry erase board and marker, and you have 2 minutes you have 20 seconds to look at this card that has a drawing of a monster and memorize it, put it face down, and then you have a 2-minute timer to describe the monster as everyone else draws it, and then at the end you're going to be kind of revealing and seeing who is closest and that sort of thing. Really fun game, tons of laughs. I think I've cooled on it just a little bit, and I found that after the original 4, 5, 6 times I played and I was like just absolutely loving it, the novelty wore off just a little bit. It's still a game that I don't think I'm going to get rid of anytime soon, but I'm finding that in those environments I'm tending to default to a couple other party games that are just a little higher on the list. So fully deserves its place on the list. Still excellent game. I think everyone should try it. Yeah, Monstrosity.
Monstrosity is actually not on my list this year. It was last year, but I think it was like 53, 54. I think it just missed.
Yeah.
And I played it a couple times. I borrowed it from you to play with my coworkers and stuff. It is really fun. I still really, really enjoy it. I would agree. I think I've cooled on just a little bit in the sense that, like, not that it's gotten worse, but for this one specifically, it is just kind of group dependent. Like,
that's
not only
exactly
on drawing ability and stuff, but also just like how engaged people are with drawing games, how much laughs and fun they get out of it. When you have the right group for it, I feel like this is like 10 to 15 spots higher on my list than it is. But because of that inconsistency, it's hard to rank it.
That's exactly it. All of my most memorable plays of it, aside from the one on the live stream, were before we did last year's top 50. And then most of the plays this year were more like, oh, it's still really good, but not quite as good as I remember, kind of thing. But anyway, Monstrosity.
Number 47 for me was 46. Last year it's dropped 1 spot, and that is Jaipur. Jaipur, nice. I couldn't take off the list even with other games that have. I don't think I've even played Jaipur this year, but I couldn't bump Jaipur off because I played it so much that I still know how much I enjoyed this game. I still know it's a premier 2-player experience out of the ones I have on my shelf and that I play regularly. And it's just great. It's an easy one that I can always go to and teach and not worry about there being a bunch of like rules complications for people not understanding stuff, and we can have fun out of it. Even though I've seen so much of Jaipur and I've actually played it on Board Game Arena now too, I never feel like it's like boring because like, oh, I've played this a bunch or I know the strategy or whatever. There are aspects of it that I just find is so much fun to come back to, and like and knowing like when to like invest in camels and then how many camels can I give up to still claim the most camels token but still be able to use my camels efficiently.
Or even just selling like 2 of a gem type rather than waiting for the 3rd when you know you're not getting the bonus token, but you need
the other person too.
And for the hand management to free up space. Like the game has really, reminds me of Lost Cities.
We love hand management games.
Yeah, you see everything there is to see in Lost Cities, but the game is still highly replayable because the decisions are super tough, right?
Yeah. So it still hangs on to my top 50. I thought there was a chance it might slip off, but because it was 46 last year, but it only drops 1 spot, so 46.
Nice. Not quite in my top 50, but yeah, excellent 2-player game, still in my collection as well. I'll happily play it any day.
I don't know why that just reminded me when you said not quite my top 50 of Whiplash, J.K. Simmons. Not quite my tempo.
Not quite my tempo.
Not quite my top 50.
Well, I'm going to try and remember not quite my tempo now. All right, number 47 for me is one that has fallen quite a bit, and this is again the nostalgia factor at play a little bit, trying to divorce myself from that.
Is this your biggest fall?
No,
No, okay.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But honestly, I didn't look at it. Yeah, maybe it might be though. It's pretty high. So this one has dropped 17 spots down to number 47 from number 30 last year, and that is Evolution Climate. So there's a couple of reasons. Well, first of all, I'll describe the game briefly. The essential what you're doing in this game is you are creating species and adding trait cards to them. Like you have a blank species at the start, sort of a blank canvas, 1 population and 1 body size, and you're playing cards throughout the game, adding either 3 or 4 traits to each of your species in front of you. You can gain additional ones throughout the game, and basically you're adding traits to make them more adaptable into the environment. You're going to have to collect food. The points in this game are food, so every round there's going to be like a watering hole where a certain number of food gets generated depending on what cards you play. So there's like multi-use cards, tableau building. It's very interactive. active. You can have carnivores that eat other people's animals and all kinds of stuff. So it can be a very punishing, unforgiving game. If you fall behind really early, it is tough to come back in this game. It does have a bit of the runaway leader thing, unless like it's kind of on the players to attack the runaway leader. If everyone like doesn't go after the leader, like the game isn't gonna just kind of have that Mario Kart effect on its own, right? So I've played it I think twice in the past year, and both times I just think that there was a long time where I didn't play it, maybe a year or two, and we played so many other games in the meantime that when I came back to it, I think I just realized that I've cooled on it a little bit. And the plays that I had of it were like, I think we played once and someone was like, oh, now that I understand, can we play again? And I remember thinking like, I don't really want to play it again right now. Like we just played it. Right. And in the past, when I used to like love this game more, I think I would have been down to play it over and over all night kind of thing. So still a very good game, but the more I've played it, I've cooled on it a little bit. I don't think it's something I'm going to suggest. I also don't think it's going to like leave my collection yet. But yeah, Evolution Climate.
This is one that never resonated with me the same way it did with you. And also, I just one of those like unlucky experiences too, where like one time when we were playing at the cabin, I just happened to get really sick and like had to stop
halfway through the game or so.
So my memories of Evolution Climate is it being one of the games where I felt like I was going to throw up while playing it.
Yeah, and we just packed it away and whatever.
So it's never resonated quite the same way with me. But I don't think it's a bad game. It's just something about it never jumped out at me. But
that's fair.
Yeah, so I can understand the drop.
Cool. Yeah, that was Evolution Climate. That was my number 47. And yeah, it dropped 17 spots. That might actually be the biggest fall.
Yeah.
Oh no, because I had one in the 20s that's off the list completely.
Oh, okay.
And since we won't get to that game, it was Isle of Skye.
So. Oh, damn.
Anyways.
Number 46 for me is a game that wasn't on my list last year. I thought this one could be higher, but it ended up not being, and that is Mandala.
Nice.
Great two-player game. This one, honestly, if I continue to play it a lot in the same way that I play other two-player games that we've talked about a lot on the channel, I could see this one climbing. Like this probably won't be the highest it ever reaches if I continue to play it a lot, because I really, really enjoy Mandala. It's just a really interesting game, and it constantly makes you think about like not only the move you're going to do, but what your opponent's going to do, and you're managing two different areas, so it feels like you're playing two different games in some way. Like there's two mandalas, and you are restricted to which color you can play in your area, in the joint area of each one. And so having to look and say, okay, a mandala gets finished when one of every color is present in it. So how close are we on that one? How close are we on that one? When do I want to trigger this one, or when do I hope they don't trigger it? And you're managing both, and managing which cards are going to come back to you and what they're going to score when they go into your kind of little area there. Like
not to mention managing your hands.
Yeah, like there's so much to think about, and you're using cards that you like to play to gain points, but you're also using them to be able to win a mandala. So it's
feels
just
like Arboretum a little bit with that. What are you using your card for, kind of thing.
Totally, it's a great game. Like I said, I think this one will continue to climb it the more I play it, because I played it a bunch now, but I feel like not enough for it to have reach some of the other two-player games in this list, and I think it eventually could. It's a great game. Was a little bit late to the party on it because I've said this before, I thought it was Mancala, which is a very different game, and I was like, I played Mancala before, like why is everyone talking about this ancient game all of a sudden?
Yeah, exactly. Like 2019 release. This came out hundreds of years ago.
I'm like, who does this company think they are? Just repackaging Mancala and everyone's talking about it. So Mandala is great. I can't wait to play it some more.
Yeah, I only tried it once with you, had a really good first play of it, and it's one that I actually initially had on my short list, but after I looked at it and thought, I've only played it once, it won't make it this year, but I could see it maybe making my top 50 in the future. Really good two-player game.
Nice.
All right, my number 46 is new to the list, first time on here. That is Lord of the Rings: The Confrontation.
I thought this was going to sneak on yours.
Yeah. And big shout out to Jeff and Jamie from Foster the Meeple, who found out that this was one of my Grail games a while back, and they tracked down a copy and sent me one. So thank you so much to you guys. This game has been a blast to kind of discover. I know this is another one relate to the party on, because this game came out in like the early 2000s, I think.
Yeah, wow.
I think it was like 2003 or something. Reiner Knizia. It's basically a Lord of the Rings themed version of Stratego. You have a pretty small, I guess like diamond-shaped map, and you start in your little, you're playing obviously the like Frodo and the gang. I always, people in the comments are giving me a hard time. I'm always bad about like, what are they, is it Frodo, like what's their like, group of, like, I guess the hobbits. Like, they're not all hobbits because Gandalf's there too.
What are you asking me?
Well, I'm saying the good versus the evil, like in Lord of the Rings. Like, it's
isn't it the Fellowship?
Yes, the Fellowship.
Yeah,
there you go.
okay.
There you go. Yeah.
The first movie is called The Fellowship of the Ring.
I know. I'm telling you, I always blank on this because I always go like years and years without watching these
What
movies.
are they called? Frodo and the Gang?
Yeah, I know.
The Hobbits?
I was asking you to help me out
Lord
here.
of the Rings, The Hobbits.
Yeah, Frodo and his gang in the ring. So yeah, it's basically the Fellowship against I'm not even what's the evil Sauron. Yeah, but what are the other ones like? What are they all lumped in as together?
Oh,
Isn't, like,
do they have a name too?
Well, it's in the game. I hate in the instructions. It says the good player versus the dark player, and I'm like, this is not the right language to use. Yeah, Sauron and the gang, exactly.
Sauron.
And the non-fellowship. I don't know. Anyways, good versus evil, asymmetric powers. Each of your little characters, you have Frodo and Sam and Gandalf, whatever, and each of them has a unique ability. And you're moving into, once you get into a space where an opponent is, you get to turn your pieces around and reveal one of theirs and kind of see who wins the combat. You each have a kind of unique set of cards in your hand, and you know what the other player has or hasn't played, and you're always playing a card every time there's an encounter. So very cool game. The good player is just trying to get Frodo to the other end, and the evil player is trying to either, I think, kill a certain amount of the good guys or get a certain amount of their guys to the Shire. Fascinating game, really, really fun, and one that we'll definitely cover in the channel in one of our upcoming retro reviews once we've played it a little more.
Yeah, this is one that I think I had it on my rankings that I did, and it didn't make it, but it's only because I played it once.
Right,
I think if I play this one more, this could end up climbing a bunch and actually make it on, because it's a really, really good game.
Yeah,
I like it
for
a lot.
sure. That is Lord of the Rings: The Confrontation. It's really tough to find, so if you find a copy somewhere at a reasonable price, yeah, snatch it up.
Number 45 for me was 29 last year, fall 16 spots, but not because I don't like it. Honestly, I actually like this a lot. I almost have had some better plays of it this year than I ever have, but it's just a lot of competition. Talked about it a lot this year in different ways, and that's The Mind. I really like The Mind. It's just one of those games that, for as much as I like it and as much as it's always going to make different lists of mine, and I'm always going to rank it high and talk about it, when I compare it to other games directly, it's hard because other games give me a little bit more out of it. I'm more impressed by The Mind than I am like saying it's a better game than this or whatever, because in many ways sometimes it can not, I feel like it's not even quite a game, it's more of an activity or something like that. Like, I mean, it is a game, but it's hard in competition with some of the other games on the list. So that's the only reason it's fallen. I really, really do like The Mind. I think it's so unique. I think I haven't played quite anything like it where it's like the rule set almost, it's not the rules you're teaching to everyone. It's the personalities of the table that you're teaching to people. You have to get used to what everyone's personalities are, because the first time we play it, it's going to be a learning experience to basically set us up for the next time we play it, or the second game in a row, where now we know this person plays fast, this person plays reserve, this person is just never going to play a card if they think that they're within this and many numbers of it or whatever. That's the funnest part of The Mind. And so every time I take it out with a new group, I'm excited to see how is it going to play with this group. So great game, super inexpensive, super small. I mean, it's just an easy one to throw in. We brought it up at our conference that we did a speech, speech at in October, and one of our teacher friends immediately went and bought 5 copies of The Mind and has been using it in his classroom, and he said it's been a huge hit.
Nice, that's awesome.
It's awesome, it's great.
Yeah, it'd be great for getting kids to open up and talk, at least after obviously the game has limited communication, but I mean between rounds and stuff. But,
totally, learn about each other.
Yeah, it's a situational game, so when you're trying to get together with friends for game night, a lot of the time it doesn't come to mind, but when you're actually sitting down playing it, come to mind, I understand. But when you're actually sitting down playing it, it's always a great time, right?
Yeah, totally. That is The Mind 45.
Cool. My number 45 is a game that dropped 9 spots, so last year it was at number 36. That is Dune Imperium.
Ooh, it dropped.
So yeah, and I think even from when I first played it and I talked about it in my top 10 games of 2020, which I believe it was at number 5 when I did that, I knew at the time that it wasn't one of my absolute favorite worker placement games. You're going to see a few more, at least 3 or 4 more, maybe more of that ahead on the list. And I don't even know if it's that I've cooled on it. It's that, again, with 11 new games on the list that weren't on here last year, it just, over time has fallen a little bit. But we had a really good play of it again on our live stream that we did in May. This is worker placement with deck building. I'm sure I don't need to really get into it. I think most people probably have heard of the game before or know something about it. What has made it drop mostly is that it always still feels a little bit longer than I would like. I think the only time I've been able to get it completed in under 2 hours is when I've played it solo a couple times.
Right.
And so, yeah, it always feels like just a little bit longer. I think the time we played on the live stream too, I thought we were about to hit that perfect length, and then something happened that like where someone wasn't able to get the conflict and then it got pushed and we had to play another full round. So sometimes like doing another full round with the conflict does extend it. Very, very fun game. And I will say right now, I haven't tried either of the expansions. The Immortality one just came out. I have Rise of Ix, but I haven't played it yet. So I have a feeling, basically, if Rise of Ix improves my opinion of it quite a bit, I could see this bumping up. If Rise of Ix doesn't do much for it, or if I like it less, I don't know if this will stay on my top 50 for a long time, but it's still a very, very good game. Just, yeah, a little longer than I'd like.
Yeah, this one's like a newer one to me this year because like when we did our list last year, I hadn't played it yet. Or either I hadn't played it yet or I'd only played it once.
I don't think you had, yeah, at that time.
And so I was just taking your word for stuff. I didn't know anything about it. And I really, really like Dune Imperium. I think I like deck building mixed with like
worker placement?
Yeah, worker placement. Or I was just gonna say deck building mixed with like another activity in general going on, the same way like Clank has its own thing.
Yeah.
And worker placement games, yeah, I love worker placement games. So mixing those two genres together was just like a beautiful match. And even as someone who's not a fan, or not a fan, I never was a Dune person. Like I never read the book and
right.
Like it just wasn't something that was, I understood. Even without that knowledge, I can still somehow see the integration of the theme just from what I've heard from you and from Braden and just like the way things are done in the game. Like it's really good. I like Dune Imperium a lot.
Yeah, very good game. So is it, well, maybe I shouldn't ask this question then. Feel free to not answer it. So is it not in your top 50?
I'm not telling you.
Okay.
I'm not telling you at all.
That is Dune Imperium.
Okay, number 44 for me was 37 last year, so it's dropped 7 spots, and that is Terraforming Mars. So Terraforming Mars I still really, really like. I just haven't, I think I did play it this year, but I think I only played it the one time. It's a game that I think will likely not climb, even if I meet someone who wants to play it a whole bunch, and I played a bunch in a year or something like that. I think I've seen everything I'm going to see in Terraforming Mars by the amount of times I've played it now. I really, really like it. I just don't think it's going to grow on me, or it's going to beat out other games that I think are doing some of the mechanics better, or just I'm finding more interesting, or whatever the case may be. Like, I still really enjoy the fight on the main board for, like putting your tiles down and claiming them with your cubes, and how certain cards have like special tiles that you can interact on the board with, and like where ocean tiles get placed. I like the main board thing and the fact that that's all affected by what we're doing with the cards in our hand. Like there's something about that I just find really satisfying when I play Terraforming Mars, as well as the way the game ramps up. It's like my favorite thing is how it starts off being like, man, this game is going to take forever, and because like we have to hit this, and then all of a sudden as you start to get stuff and you get different cards like that have new abilities and stuff, all of a sudden, and you have more money coming in and our credits, you suddenly just like are like, oh my god, like the game's gonna end in 2 rounds.
Yeah,
like,
when you think
ramps.
it's halfway in, you're actually like 75 to 80% into the game, but it's you to realize it too late every time.
I always like that feeling board games because it makes them end, and I'm like, I wish we had 2 more turns, so it leaves me with a good impression of them. So yeah, it fell, but I still really like it. I just don't know if it'll climb again. Maybe if I try it with some of the other expansions, although I do play it with Prelude every time now and really enjoy Prelude. So yeah, Terraforming Mars 44.
Cool. All right, yeah, not on my list. I did expect it to still be on your top 50, but I did expect it to slip. This would have been right around where I expected. But, yeah, you need to get on Race for the Galaxy, man. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I've been on the Race for the Galaxy. It's,
but have you really though? Have you truly?
Not in the way you want me to.
All right, number 44 on my list is a game that has dropped quite a few spots again. This has dropped 15 spots from number 29 last year, and that's because, full disclosure, and I think I said this last year when I made my list, when I put it on my list at 29 last year, I had only played it once, and I haven't played it again since then, so it's still just on one play, and that's why it has dropped that much. So at number 44 is Cosmic Frog. So it felt kind of odd dropping it so much without having, like, obviously if you don't play a game at all, it is going to probably drop in most cases. But also, like, my opinion hasn't lessened. It's not like it's not getting played because I've thought about it and like, oh, I don't like the game as much. It's mostly the barrier of the rulebook isn't laid out in the best way, I don't think. So coming back to it if you haven't played for a while and relearning it is a little tricky.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that setup takes so long that I'm only gonna, like, the next time I play this game, it has to be that people agree in advance, like, we are gonna play Cosmic Frog so that I can refresh on the rules and have it set up. But if people come over and see it on the shelf and, oh, what's that game? I'm not just gonna be ready to play it again. So that's the barrier keeping me from playing this game again. Very, very quick rundown of the game. I won't get into the usual detail that I love about this game, but the long and short is that you are a frog in space harvesting shards of the planet into your gullet and then jumping into the ether to store them into your intergalactic vault. Players can steal shards of the planet from either players' other gullets or from their vaults. The game is pure chaos. There's dice rolling for combat. You have powers that change throughout the game. A totally random turn order where you never know if your turn's next or if you have to wait 6 turns till you go again. There's like meteors that land and crash on the planet throughout the game. Just absolutely wild stuff. But unlike anything I've played, amazing artwork, really cool theme. Can't wait to get it back to the table. But if another year goes by and I don't play it and we do our top 50 next year, it'll have to slip off again. Yeah. But I'm hoping that won't happen because
just have it set up on your table and invite us over.
Well, I tried out, but the first time I did that and people got there, they were kind of disappointed. And then I remember someone didn't have the greatest experience with the game, and I felt bad. And I was like, because of the it is going to take like a good probably hour and a half to 2 hours, and if you're not ready for that randomness, I don't want to put anyone in that situation if they don't want to play the game.
Okay, well, I promise you, if you have it set up and we play, and if I have a bad experience, I'll pretend I have a good one so that you don't feel bad. Okay?
No, you don't have to pretend. Honesty, you just can't hold it against me. You just say it's my own fault I had a bad time.
Got it.
So yeah, number 44, Cosmic Frog. Hope to play it again soon.
Nice. Number 43 for me is another game that wasn't on the list last year, and it's a really simple, light little party game that I just bought my own copy of, and that is Just One.
Nice.
So Just One, I played actually a bunch this year, and I think I'd played it last time we did Top 50, but I think it was either once or twice, or I hadn't had that really great experience to kind of have it shine for me.
Yeah.
And I've played it a lot now, and including with different groups of people at work functions, and it's a testament to the fact that normally we don't often buy games that the other person has. Or we do it sometimes.
Yeah, but we don't have a lot of overlap.
No, there's not tons. And this one is one where I was just after borrowing it from the last one, I was I just need my own copy. I play this enough. It's a go-to enough with the groups. It plays up to 7, and you can easily get more people into it as well. Yeah. It's really simple, and sometimes it's hard for me to be wow, so I think Just One's a better game than this or whatever, because
that's the hardest thing about this game.
It's a simple thing, but it's very reliant on the people you play with and the sessions you have. And the more I've ever thought about it, the last time I played it at our work retreat, that was everyone still talks about how much fun that game was. And even though it's so simple, it is something that can just easily bring people together. And to me, that is what board games are supposed to be doing. If this one can do that really, really well and better than a lot of other games, then it deserves the spot in my opinion.
Yeah.
So Just One squeaks onto this list. It might go, if I play more, it might go higher. It's hard to say, but I'm glad that it did make my top 50 because I think it deserves it now that I've played it a bunch.
Yep, I'll have more to say about it higher on the list for sure. But
you spoiled it.
Yeah, well, I don't know.
It was on your list last year.
It was on my list last year, and it was higher than you have it. But yeah, amazing game. And I think what makes me, I think that the key when, like you said, these games are tough to say, is it really better than this other, way more complex, heavier game? Yeah. But I always think, what was my least enjoyable play of it? And that's probably still at least an 8 or 9 out of 10 game night that we played it. It's just always very, very good, never a bad play.
Yeah. Although I don't think I'll ever forgive you now that I think about it, the fact that you think Just One's a better game than Gloomhaven. But
a lot of games are better than Gloomhaven. Look back on last year's list and look what I put ahead of it. You won't feel too good about that.
That's true.
Okay, coming in at number 43 for me is a game that I reviewed on the channel the past year. We've actually spoken about it quite a bit in the past year and a half or so on the channel. So last year it was at number 35. It has dropped 8 spots. That is Cascadia.
Oh, wow.
So still a very, very good game. I just, last year, it was one of my most anticipated games for 2021 as it was. I played it. I love the game. Very good tile laying game. And it's one of the probably higher ones on my entire list that, I found a lot of what happened over this past year. And I think especially because of, again, we're not post-pandemic, but the pandemic's in a slightly different, situation than before, obviously. Yep. And I've gravitated more and more towards more interactive games, and I found that Cascadia there have been a lot of game nights where we've gotten together and I've seen it on the shelf, and I just keep finding that I'm picking a lot of other games. Maybe not a lot. I want to be careful again because we're talking about we've each had played 400 plus games out of this list. To have a game at 43 is still very high. It's still one of the best games I've played, right? But I've cooled on it a little bit, and there's just some all-time great games that I've had the privilege of trying in the last year or so that have snuck ahead of it. So I don't see it leaving the top 50 anytime soon or anything like that. And it could even climb if I play maybe a bunch of the solo mode more this year or anything like that. Really good game, and one I would highly recommend to a lot of people. There's really not a lot of negatives or bad things to point out about it. Amazing game, Cascadia.
This I would have bet was going to climb on your list. I'm very surprised it dropped. I thought for sure this was going to be one that like had a spot last year because it was still a relatively newer game, and now it was going to like climb and continue, and maybe not continue to climb, but like climb from where you had it. So I'm a little surprised by this one.
I think part of also why it hasn't climbed is because other people, I've shown it to other people, but no one has, like, a lot of the people I've shown to hasn't really requested to play it again. Like, they've been open to it, but it doesn't seem to be like the crowd pleaser of like, oh, that's an amazing game. And maybe I just haven't played it with the right people. I haven't played it with Anna yet, and some of my other friends who like these kind of lighter tile laying games. So
yeah.
Anyway, Cascadia.
Cool. Number 42. 42 was a big drop from 23 last year, 19 spots.
Wow.
And this is mostly because I think I've only played it once in the past year, and like I think that's honestly the main reason it's dropped, because it is a really great game, and that's Newsfjord. So Newsfjord is a great game. I still would never turn down a game of it. I have fun with it every single time I play. It's not my favorite Uwe Rosenberg game by any means. Obviously, there's a few that I like better, but it is just like a really solid, like classic. It feels like a very classic Uwe experience, like when you play it. Like it's kind of what you would expect from an Uwe game. I'm glad I have it. It could honestly be one that is going to slingshot a bit, and like it's dropped now, and then it could climb again, because I think it's going to be one that is very dependent on how many times I've played it that year. My list in general, I think, is going to be fluid that way, because we play so many great games and so many games in general, because we have a YouTube channel, that even just like if I've played a different Uwe game more that year or whatever, and I've liked them both, it's naturally going to probably push it ahead, because I'm like, I have these, more recent great memories of it. Right. So, and I don't have nostalgia or anything with Newsfjord. So it's a great game. It's dropped this year, but again, I would say for this one, the 19 spots is not because it's like 19 spots worse so much as it is that, like you said, 16 games on mine joined the list. There's a lot of other ones I played more that moved around, so it's just kind of like, you know, it's just it's the natural evolution of me not having played it.
Fair enough. You're gonna have to give your copy to me then, because I've been dying to play this game again, and you're the only one, and I can't find a copy online. Like, it's out of stock everywhere, and like it's one of those games I'm gonna end up buying my own copy of. But if you think about getting rid of it, and speaking of which, I'm very curious to see it over time, because I think I think that's the most like scrappy, punishing, tight Uwe Rosenberg bigger game in your collection. I'm curious to see, as we play more of the ones like Le Havre and stuff. I'm curious to see where that continues to rank, if it keeps getting pushed further in your list of Uwe games.
Maybe we'll do like an Uwe swap at some point. Like, you give me one of yours, I'll give you one of mine, and we'll...
Yeah, Glass Road for Newsfjord or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, I'm not getting rid of it. I'm not getting, like, for borrowing.
Forever. All right, that
Newsfjord.
is 42 Newsfjord.
Yep. All right, number 42 for me is a game that's new to my list this year, but it's a game I've spoken about many times on the channel, and is one that I specifically remember was like 52 or 53 last year and just had missed out.
Oh, so it was like, I thought it was like a game you just played this year.
No, new to the list. Okay. It's something that I was very close last year, and what propelled it into number 42 this year is just, it's probably one of my most played games of the last year, especially in bigger groups, and it continues to deliver every single time we play it. Wavelength. Yeah. So Wavelength was one. I think last year I was hesitant to put it on the list. It kind of like what you're saying about Just One. I was like, it's a party game. Is it the gimmick that I'm like, the whole thing with the wheel that you turn to give the clues and stuff? I kind of wondered about it, but the more we've played it like every single group, and it's what I like a lot about it is that it works really well, obviously, with groups who know each other very well, because you're trying to give clues and guess what people would be hinting at, and the better you know someone, the better idea you're going to have of where they're trying to point you with the clue they're giving. But it also works very well with people who don't know each other very well, because you're getting to know each other and sussing out, and it kind of makes people come out of their shells, and the game doesn't work if people aren't talking. So no one's going to say, yeah, let's play the game, and then sit around quietly. So it tends to be just a really good time. Every single time you're giving someone a clue from one spectrum to the one end of a wavelength to the other, and then basically you can play in teams or you can play cooperatively, and the other players are trying to guess where your kind of clue is hinting on this kind of wavelength. And just a really good game, and the fact that it goes up to 12 players really works in its favor, and that is part of what helps it stand out about a lot of those party games that cap out at like 6 or 8 or whatever. So nice. Yeah, Wavelength. I don't know if it'll stick on my top 50 like long term, but I think it has a pretty good shot. It's a really good party game. One of my favorite ones for sure. Sweet.
Yeah, this one was in my 50 to 60 range. Like, it was really close to making it on, because I played it a bunch more this year as well.
Yeah.
And same thing. Love it. It's a great game. I consider getting my own copy of this one. Really It's just the cost that has kind of deterred me.
Deterred.
I has been a while since I've done that.
I wanted to do
deterred. But yeah, I might still eventually. But yeah, great game. I also played this. I also borrowed this one from you to bring to with that same work function. Everyone loved it. It is a solid party game.
Yeah. Cool. So that was number 42.
Yeah.
Wavelength.
Last one for this list, 41. This is gonna be the big one. So this one is the biggest fall of the entire list, tied with the My City, but this one is a bigger deal. This is falling 28 spots from 13 last year. So 13 on my list last year, 41
I don't even remember
this year, and it is the Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Oh wow!
Yeah. So
wow.
I only played the Quacks of Quedlinburg one time this year, and so the fact.
Wait, did you rewatch our "We Disagree" on video? No, and you're like, Carlo made some good points. Yeah, Carlo was right.
No, see, I still really like Quacks of Quedlinburg. I think it's just starting to settle in to where and I still, it's a game I'll never get rid of in my collection, I don't think. Or I shouldn't say never, because that is one thing I could see being replaced by something. Yeah, I shouldn't have said it. But in general, it's one I will still go to a lot. I really enjoy it. I love introducing people. The one play I had of it, it just wasn't a good session this year. And I just find that I ranked it very highly last year because I had so many good plays of it, and the people I was playing it with really, really loved Quacks and were requesting it more and stuff like that. Whereas this year it was a little bit different. So I feel like as I compared it this year to other games on my list, I just realized that as much as I do really love Quacks and that kind of fun experience, how the randomness in it I appreciate, but it's hard for me to compare it to other games with that level of randomness, because I'm not always in the mood for it. It's not always something I want. It's not always what I'm looking for. Yeah. So it doesn't hit the table quite as much. I always have fun with Quacks. That's something that probably won't change. There's always a fun factor that I can guarantee on having with Quacks. But I just find that more and more I am gravitating to games where that are that level of simplicity, but with a more strategic package, or a little bit more tactical, or whatever,
or a shorter game if it's going to be that
exactly. And it's a hard game to take all the components out for. I could upgrade it and stuff, but getting that whole thing set up on a table takes way longer than I wanted to, and so that's always, every time I play it, I'm like, ugh.
Did any of this have to do with the fact that we also tried Orléans for the first time as another bag builder?
No.
Did you think? I know they're very different games in terms of the way they play, but was that oh man, bag building?
I don't think so. Okay. I mean, if anything, it reminded me that I do like bag builders a lot, and there are other options out there. So maybe in a little bit, but I wouldn't say that was the main influencer. Okay. If I played more of Orléans, maybe it would have been okay, this is I could see this just replacing the itch I'm wanting to scratch with Quacks. But yeah, ultimately I think this is more a case of it probably being too high last year, but I just had really good plays of it and stuff, and so now it's settling more into where it actually is.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So the biggest drop, the biggest fall, Quacks of Quedlinburg from 13 to 41.
Okay, so we still disagree on it, but nowhere near as much as we did a few months ago.
I guess.
All right, and the last one on my list for this video here at number 41, up 6 spots from number 47 last year. I think you'll be pleased. I think maybe you're probably hoping that it would have climbed even more, but that is Azul, original Azul.
Yeah, that should have climbed more.
I know. This is one that even last year when I put it at 47, I felt weird because there was a point where it was a top 10 or top 20 game for me for a while, and then I kind of cooled on it, and then I think since I cooled on it, I maybe over-cooled on it, if that's possible. And then when I went back after a while and played it, I froze on it.
Yeah, I guess. Froze on it,
And then I came back and was like, okay, no, this is better than I remember. Why did I cool on it? And I think I just overplayed it at one point for a while, and then I just needed a break. And then coming back to it reminded me, no, this is a damn good game. Yeah. We've talked before about what are the things that prevent it from being maybe I wouldn't say top tier game for us, because I believe you still have it higher than me, perhaps, based on last year's list. But yeah, it's a really, really good game, other than the kind of scoring thing being a little tough for new people to pick up on and that kind of thing. It's a really solid game, one that I will never turn down a play of. I'll never get rid of my copy. Plays well at all player counts. It's just one that I'm no longer I think it's pretty rare that I'm going to be the one to suggest it off of the shelf, unless it's been one of the, like, every few months, like, hey, it's been a few months, let's play Azul again.
Yeah.
But if I've played it recently, I'm not going to have that burning desire to get it to the table again right away. There's just too many other games I currently prefer. But yeah, it's just a classic game, a staple. It could be a staple in pretty much anyone's collection, and one I'll never get tired of playing. And I feel a bit bad that I had it at 47 last year, so I had to give it a bump this year.
I still think you should feel pretty bad that you have it in your 40 to 50 range, but that's
well,
me.
but you don't know what games are ahead of it yet.
It doesn't matter. Because I know Agricola's ahead of it, and that's already a problem.
Depends how you define the word problem. Yeah.
I will have more to say about this later, and that's probably not a spoiler or a surprise, because I think I had it in my top 10 last year. It was pretty,
I think it was
close.
number 9 for you, if I remember correctly.
So we'll see where it falls this year. But yeah, great game. I love it. I'll say more about it later.
All right.
That's it. That's 50 to 41. We didn't say at the beginning, but I think last year we had like one of these videos come out every 2 days. This one will probably be every 3 days, but it could fluctuate depending if like the third day would fall on a day that's like on Christmas Day or on Christmas Eve or Boxing Day or something. We're like, let's just delay it one. It'll be roughly around 3 days between videos, so you can always count on just kind of checking back on the channel, and you'll see when the next video comes out. And obviously 10 per video all the way up to 1.
Yeah, so the series should be done within about a couple weeks, so stick around for that, and let us know if you're enjoying this. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick little tease, and just to get people's appetite wet, in that there is a game in my top 10 that wasn't on my list at all last year.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So look forward to that. Try to guess what it is. Go in the comments and try to guess what game was on my list all last year, and now it's a top 10 game for me.
Okay. I'm not gonna say anything about that. My own picks yet, but yeah, I'm very intrigued now. I think I might know what it is because I think you mentioned last year that you regretted leaving it off the list. So I think I know what it is, but I could be wrong. Anyways, all right. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in ranking number 40 to 31 soon.